It seems like there's just nothing to watch. Nearly everything is either a remake, a sequel, or a spin-off, and they're all conceived in bad faith to give the proverbial middle finger to fans of the originals. And while you can always go back and rewatch classics for the millionth time, maybe you want to see something new, to be pleasantly surprised by something you might never have thought to watch. Well, I've compiled 3 outstanding unknown films that you can watch right now on streaming. While each of these films is lesser known, practically hidden away while their streaming platforms keep promoting the same tired old IPs, they are masterclasses in their respective genres. So give one or all of them a watch, and you might be surprised by just how good they are. The first film on this list took more than 20 years to develop. It's a masterpiece of cinema made with care by one of the most thoughtful directors to ever step behind the camera, and brought to life by a cast that finally got to realize their potential in the craft of acting. That film is Ferrari. Starring Adam Driver as the title character, Ferrari takes a deep dive into the personal life and motivation of the infamous sports car entrepreneur. Thanks to a combination of bad timing and an abysmal marketing campaign, this gem of a film went practically unwatched, earning back less than half of its $90 million production budget before being unceremoniously dumped onto streaming. Director Michael Mann had been working on producing this film as far back as 2000, and it was originally to be distributed by Paramount Pictures and starring Christian Bale as Enzo Ferrari. Through an onslaught of delays, including multiple distribution takeovers, recastings, and even the death of the original screenwriter Troy Kennedy Martin, this film kept getting pushed back to its eventual December 2023 release. This left it both overshadowed by the box office's strangest couple from earlier that same year, as well as James Mangold's own Ford v Ferrari, ironically starring Christian Bale, hitting theaters only 4 years prior. That film was still fresh enough in the public's mind and gave a point of comparison for the marketing campaign, which leaned heavily into the racing elements of this film, of which there are very few and not the focus of the movie. Michael Mann's Ferrari is a very different experience, both as a sports film and as a biography. Unlike its counterpart in James Mangold's film and nearly every other racing drama that culminates in one big event, Ferrari takes a very introspective, character-focused approach to tell its story. The races are not the main event, but serve to move the story and develop the characters. The film doesn't linger on the glory of a victory or the inevitable tragedy of an accident, but pushes on, focusing on the effect it has on the characters and continuing to give a window into their complex lives. Speaking of the characters, Ferrari makes a unique and fascinating choice in its photographing of its lead character of Enzo. Director Michael Mann and cinematographer Eric Messerschmidt took inspiration from paintings like the works of Caravaggio, lighting their subjects in dramatic and unusual ways that work brilliantly to complement the mood of the character. Enzo is an emotionally distant and forward-thinking man, and the framing of the camera also reflects that, filming him often from a distance with longer lenses and keeping him off-center and off-eye level, leaving the audience slightly disconnected with him, and often framing those closest to him more traditionally, as if we, the audience, are there with them observing Enzo from a distance. Like nearly all elements of this film, it's a brilliant subversion of the traditional, making for a fascinating film. Perhaps equally as subversive is the choice of casting, with actors like Adam Driver, Penelope Cruz, Patrick Dempsey, and Shailene Woodley all playing against type. Ferrari allows them to showcase their ranges as actors and deliver incredible performances as their lives intersect and spin out of control. If you're in the mood for a thoughtful, artfully crafted film that deserves a second chance on streaming, then check out Ferrari. The next film on this list is a mystery thriller from 2019. Costing a grand total of just $5 million, this micro-budget indie feature proves that you don't need studio backing and massive budgets to make an extremely compelling film. ICU, not to be confused with ICU, takes the thriller genre and flips it on its head multiple times, while keeping a classic mystery feel. While most similar horror and thriller films would rely on blood and gore to keep the audience on edge, ICU leans on its constantly twisting story and superb performances to keep you engaged. The film begins in a very straightforward manner, following 3 basic storylines: one of the home life of the Harpers as their familial dynamic becomes strained, one of the search for a missing child, and one of the mysterious happenings around the Harpers' home. At first, everything seems to have a simple, straightforward, supernatural kind of element, perhaps due to a haunting or something similar. But just when it seems like everything will come to light, the narrative switches, recontextualizing key events and showing that not all is as it might have at first seemed. Then, just as you think you have that figured out, the narrative switches again. ICU photographs each of these narrative changes in such a way that they feel distinct and different from one another, beginning with typical horror framing and lighting, with the camera moving along dark hallways and creeping up close behind characters, then later switching to more POV documentarian style filming, then again to a more rough, handheld dominated style, separating and complementing each narrative visually. With practically no budget and only a few very generic looking posters and trailers, this film unjustly gets overlooked. But if you're looking for a fresh take on the mystery genre that will keep you guessing right up until the end, then ICU is a must-watch. The final film on my list is an absolute classic of its genre. While it's a much older film than the previous two, all the way from 1958, it feels like nothing else from its time, thanks to its innovative filming style, directing, and music. Film noir and movies as a whole were never the same after Elevator to the Gallows. 24-year-old Louis Malle's first film follows two pairs of lovers caught in a murder plot. Like all classic noir, it follows Murphy's Law in spectacular fashion, with every small catastrophe-filled detail causing a chain reaction, from a pair of keys left in a car, to a roll of film, to, of course, the infamous elevator dooming them all to the gallows. Beyond the superb storyline, Elevator to the Gallows was monumental in changing the landscape of film. Lead actress Jean Moreau appeared in the film with almost no makeup and was photographed, like the rest of the film, in a typically naturalistic style. There was no glamour in this role, no beauty shots or soft lighting, but a stripped-back approach to filming a despondent woman who's found herself in way over her head. Her nighttime scenes as she wandered the Parisian streets were reportedly filmed in an early guerrilla filmmaking style, with no additional lighting beyond the shop and street lights, and even sneaking the camera in a baby carriage to get moving shots. Perhaps even more notably than its visual style, and the one thing even critics couldn't deny, was the impact of the film's score on cinema. Miles Davis's trumpet solos completely redefined the film noir sound, which up until then had little to distinguish it from any other genre, relying on orchestral music alone. The melancholy sound not only perfectly complemented the film noir style, but showed the impact different sounds could have on a film, defining the film's mood just as much as its image. Elevator to the Gallows is not only a hallmark of film noir, not only a groundbreaking film, but flat out an excellent and underrated movie in its own right. And if you haven't seen it yet, let it or any of these films on this list be your next watch.
Two objects cannot occupy the same point in space at the same moment in time.